At the start of the film, we are introduced to a couple, Andy and Kay, along with their 1-year-old daughter, Rosie. In a world ravaged by a virus that turns people into zombies within 48 hours, they seek refuge on a houseboat in rural Australia. While relocating to a safe place for the night, Andy spots 2 children playing on the riverside. He waves at them and tries to talk to them, but their father sees Andy and draws a revolver from his belt, compelling him to move on. The family is used to getting supplies from the sea, as they are too afraid to travel on land. Later, Kay mentions that their food supplies are running out and suggests they travel by land to gather better provisions. However, Andy criticizes her idea, fearful of the dangers that lie on land. Andy soon discovers an abandoned sailboat on the riverbank and goes to inspect it. Inside, he collects some food and a bottle of wine but hears strange noises behind a door. Unwilling to take any risks, he quickly retreats to his boat. He hands over the food to Kay, but she is skeptical about its safety. Andy, being the reassuring husband, convinces her that it's fine. Later, Kay decides to take matters into her own hands and heads to the sailboat, hoping to find more supplies. Unaware of the danger Andy had sensed earlier, she enters the boat and is attacked and bitten by a zombie. Andy is woken by Rosie's cries and begins searching for Kay. He follows a trail of blood and finds Kay in the restroom, trying to stop the bleeding from a bite on her knee. Kay explores a rucksack Andy had retrieved earlier from the boat, finding a bracelet that counts down the time left before an infected person fully transforms, as well as an infusion designed to ease the transition to a zombie state. After a tense discussion, the family decides to leave the houseboat and seek medical help. The next scene introduces Thumi, a young Aboriginal girl, drawing in a sketchbook. After leaving her house, she tosses a dead rabbit into a hole, seemingly feeding something. She hears strange noises but covers her ears, blocking out the sounds. Meanwhile, Andy and Kay locate a car nearby and narrowly avoid a zombie as they drive off. After some time, they stop, and while Andy studies a map, Kay begins changing Rosie's diaper. Suddenly, Kay collapses, vomiting blood, and starts showing signs of the infection taking over. Andy calms her down, but the transformation progresses. Elsewhere, Thumi continues her mysterious task of feeding something in the hole, this time tossing in a snake. As Kay's condition worsens, her wound starts oozing yellow sludge. She angrily accuses Andy of hiding the severity of her infection from her and expresses her fear of infecting their daughter, Rosie. Andy manages to calm her and convinces her to stay with him. To prevent Kay from fleeing in panic, Andy smashes the car's doorknob. As they continue their journey, Andy gets distracted by a strange man on the road, leading to a car crash. Andy loses consciousness, and when he wakes up, he finds that Kay has fully transformed into a zombie, her face filled with yellow pus. In a desperate struggle, Andy is bitten while trying to escape with Rosie. After subduing Kay with one of the injections, Andy straps Rosie to his back and puts Kay's countdown bracelet on himself, realizing his time is now limited. The baby cries, missing her mother, but Andy calms her by spraying Kay's perfume. During a rest stop, Andy encounters the person responsible for their accident, who has also become a zombie. Just then, Thumi appears and tries to distract the zombie, who is revealed to be her father. Thumi sacrifices herself by cutting her hand, drawing her zombified father's attention away from Andy. Later, Andy enters a school and meets Etta, a retired teacher. She helps him clean his wounds and tells him that most of the Aboriginal people have left, including many of her former students. She offers Andy and Rosie shelter for the night. That night, Andy experiences his first seizure due to the infection, vomiting blood before passing out. The following morning, Etta advises Andy to find Thumi's father, Willie, who could take care of Rosie. She also warns Andy to stay away from the Aboriginals, as they kill any zombies or infected people who come near. With little time left, Andy sets out once again in search of safety for his daughter. On the way, Andy pauses at some ruins to give Rosie water. As he rushes out, he passes several zombies with their heads buried in the ground. One of them rises and starts pursuing him. Andy finds a car and tries to steal it, but he is stopped by a man named Vic, who saves him from the pursuing zombie. Vic is trapped beneath a tank and hands over the car keys to Andy in exchange for a promise that he will help free him. Andy agrees and, after removing the weight-trapping Vic, starts the car. The two quickly flee the scene, leaving the zombies behind. Vic takes Andy to his sanctuary, a gas plant outpost where he used to work. There, Vic introduces him to Lorraine, who he claims is his wife. Vic asks Andy to leave Rosie with Lorraine, so they can go hunting for food and kill zombies. Vic believes that once the world returns to normal, people will crave money again, so he kills zombies and loots their possessions. He uses live humans as bait to trap zombies. During this time, Andy discovers that Vic has taken Thumi hostage, which infuriates him. Meanwhile, Lorraine looks after Rosie and notices some strange yellow slime on her belly. Vic and Andy return from a hunt, and Lorraine mentions cleaning up Rosie. As Andy spends time with his daughter, he notices his hand starting to twitch, a sign that he is slowly succumbing to the infection. Realizing his time is running out and knowing Rosie is in safe hands, Andy goes outside to a secluded spot to end his life. However, Lorraine stops him and reveals that she is not Vic's wife. She explains that Vic allowed her real husband and other workers to die so he could survive. Their conversation is interrupted when Vic appears and knocks Andy unconscious. Andy wakes up in the same cage as Thumi. Together, they devise a plan to escape by using raw guts tied to a rope to lure zombies. When the zombies tug on the rope, the cage door opens, allowing them to escape. They return to the shelter and convince Lorraine to leave with them. As they attempt to flee, Vic catches up and starts shooting at them. Lorraine tries to stop him, but Vic accidentally shoots her, killing her instantly. Andy and Thumi flee and spend the night in a small gorge, freeing each other from their chains. During the night, Andy begins to show more signs of his transformation, rubbing his face against blood on the wall. The next morning, Andy and Thumi discuss her father, and when Andy points out that her father may never recover, Thumi angrily storms off. She soon discovers her father, now fully dead, straddling a tree. Andy tries to console her but fails and leaves. He later has a breakdown, realizing he has little time left before becoming a zombie. In despair, he buries his head in the earth like other zombies. But Thumi hears Rosie's cry and rushes to help her. Andy wakes up, surprised to see that Thumi has chosen to help him. In the next scene, they travel by motorboat to a campground where Andy last saw a family. They find an RV, but it's empty. Andy searches for the family and eventually meets the father, who reveals that he has been infected by a zombie. The man offers Andy a loaded rifle with 6 bullets, telling him he can keep 2 after using the rest on himself and his family. Andy tries to dissuade the man from ending his family's lives but fails, for gunshots echo in the distance as Andy walks away. Shaken, Andy takes the rifle and considers shooting himself, but Thumi arrives and says she is ready to return home. She suggests that Andy follow her and leave Rosie with the Aboriginals. They set out towards smoke rising from a nearby hill, and while passing through a train tunnel, Vic reappears. Thumi hides with Rosie in a truck while Andy distracts Vic. A fight ensues, and though Andy fires his weapon, he misses each time. Vic catches up, knocking Thumi's head against the rails and grabs Rosie. A limping Andy checks on Thumi, who is still alive, before confronting Vic. After a tense moment, Vic, mourning Lorraine's death, finally hands Rosie back to Andy. As they continue their journey, Andy's transformation into a zombie progresses. With time running out, he begs Thumi to promise to take care of Rosie. He covers his mouth with a guard to prevent himself from harming anyone and secures his wrists. Eventually, Andy succumbs to the virus, fully turning into a zombie. Despite this, he continues carrying Rosie and Thumi on his back, guided by a chunk of flesh tied to a stick. They finally reach the Aboriginal camp, where the warriors capture Andy. Thumi and Rosie are welcomed by Thumi's mother. Just as one of the warriors is about to kill Andy with a spear, Thumi intervenes. She spritzes Kay's perfume, bringing Andy back to brief awareness, reminding him that Rosie is safe. After that, Thumi allows the warrior to end Andy's suffering. In the final scene, the Aboriginal people are seen traveling to a shelter, warmly greeted by members of their tribe. Rosie is cared for by Thumi and her mother. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.